All right, soccer freaks. This is ATL On Fire, the podcast. We're going to be talking all things Atlanta United Football Club. So sit back, buckle up, and enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back. It is ATL On Fire. For real today, Dave. For real. It's finally chilly enough, and I found some firewood from a good friend.
Yeah, who might that be?
Yeah, thank you. My wood guy stood me up the other day.
Oh,
Yeah.
never want to be left at the fireplace without the wood.
But not only do we have an awesome fire cranking for the podcast this evening, we, as Atlanta United, made the playoffs. Cheers. And we are cheersing a special occasion as well here on the podcast. All the talk about you and Enrique doing your first wine from a local grape in the region, a Norton grape, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, so we have our friend Enrique lives in Smyrna, and as we've briefly chatted about on previous podcasts, when he moved into the house in this little subdivision, he has this really giant backyard, but it's exceedingly steep. And he was like, what in the world I'm going to do with that? To which I replied, vineyard.
Well, the podcast listeners didn't get to hear our banter after the podcast we did the other night on Wednesday after the Cincinnati game. Or no, that wasn't the Cincinnati. That was the Toronto game, right?
Yep, Toronto.
After the Toronto game, Dave and I were sitting around and talking about his wine, and I've yet to taste it until this evening, but I didn't think he was I underestimated these guys. Let's just put it that way. I didn't think that they were capable of, on a first go, from a southeast region grape, red grape, to make a wine that, A, was drinkable, but be on the spectrum of good.
Did you just say good in reference to our wine, Mikey Dobbs?
This is a good wine, and I would have this as a table wine anytime. So well done.
Thank you.
So
yeah.
how did you pull this off?
Yeah, so he's got this really steep backyard, and we did some research, and basically, you can grow grapes in this country down from Virginia to about northern Georgia, and really not any further. You need to go any further south than that. You need to be a little bit at altitude, which he is. He's sort of on this little hill in Smyrna, and it's way too wet is the main problem. So way too wet means that you get, all kinds of nasty things that kill your vines. Yeah, diseases, right? But being on a huge slope means the water just runs right through, and it ends up, the soil is extremely dry. So I said, he's got a ton of sun. It's facing the right direction. It's sort of southerly facing, sort of southeast, if you will. And, we did our homework, and, so many people in northern Georgia are growing, classic French grapes, Cabernet and whatnot, which aren't so great for here. They're very hard. But I understand why they're doing it, because nobody goes into the grocery store thinking, I'm going to buy myself a Norton wine. But so Norton has an amazing history, right? Literally starting with the forefathers, Washington and Jefferson were trying to make wine in this country. And they assumed that they would find an American grape that could make a delicious wine. And they failed and failed and failed. And then, fast forward a while, there's this guy, Dr. Norton, and, he succeeded. He found a native grape in Virginia that makes a delicious wine. It actually spread quite rapidly to Missouri. That's where it was mostly grown. But then Prohibition wiped it out completely. Yeah. By the time Prohibition ended, California was finally starting to go. And eventually, of course, California succeeded in using French, varietals, right. Cabernet and whatnot, Merlot, and very successfully. Yeah.
Mondavi was the pioneer there in California, right?
Right. And so Norton was history. But, Norton during an early time, some of the Norton wines that were made in Missouri actually won some medals in Europe as being really terrific wines. It is an American grape that makes a terrific red. It's a little bit almost like a Zinfandel.
Yeah.
And the key to it is because it's a Native American grape, it's resistant to everything. So you can actually grow it successfully.
But I feel like this is, I mean, it's very much like a cab. I mean, it definitely has some different flavors, but it's kind of in that kind of just drinking wine category of just can stand on its own.
Well, great.
Yeah.
So we had, you say that we had modest expectations too, Mikey Dobbs.
I am not kidding. Like I would have been harsh on you. I really would have been. I'm not blowing smoke.
Well, I'm glad.
Really solid. So thank you for bringing this. And
this is our first vintage. Second vintage is on the way. And, really, you're not supposed to really make grapes from the first couple of vintages, first couple of harvests of your grapes. So we should be going upwards from here.
I hope that we will make the MLS Cup playoffs, but I have some reasonable concern that we won't this season, but I have a lot of expectations.
You mean the MLS Cup final?
The MLS Cup final, yeah. So hopefully, we'll crack one of these open, maybe heading towards the Mercedes-Benz for a final. If we can do that this year and open another one of these, I'm all about that too.
But if we were to get to a final, it wouldn't be at the Benz, right? I mean, you would have to have a better record than whoever was coming through on the other side, which could be, but it would have to be a big upset on the other side.
It'd be a bit of a fluke, right, in the finals. You're right. So that's I guess where we can start things off, Dave, is the fact that we got the job done going to Cincinnati. We did our part on what we were supposed to do in that game with the win, but knowing that we played for the tie against Toronto, and now we find ourselves in the situation where we don't have any home playoff games. What is your overall feeling about the excitement of we're in the playoffs, but also that we're not at the Mercedes-Benz for any of the playoff games?
Yeah, I mean, disappointment. This glass half full, glass half empty kind of an argument, and that if you look
half empty,
if you look at where we were when we were fired, Hines, you had to say that we were in deep trouble, and we talked about it. I said that it was recoverable. I think you were a little more pessimistic than I was that it was recoverable.
Yeah, I was.
We had to go through the numbers a little bit. So getting in the playoffs from there, you'd have to say, fantastic. Job well done. And you look at our point total, I think it was second best in the East over the time period since Pineda took over. So that makes us legit contenders. That being said, are we fully, doing as well as our talent, would allow? I think you and I are definitely not yet convinced. And even if you say all of that, going into the last, week or two of the season, any one of those points that we dropped in a really silly fashion would have done it.
Yeah. And I applaud Pineda for coming in, stabilizing the ship and carrying on the positive culture that Rob Valentino did through the interim process. But again, as we've said, we don't see, I don't see the way that the team is structured and the way we're playing kind of as a team. I think there's a lot of really good individual skill out there that is allowing us to even come back in the game that we saw, the other night.
There was some skill on display, Mikey Dobbs.
There was some skill.
We'll get to that.
But yeah, I mean, even the winning goal is not something.
So just to get to your rep, and on our chances of having any playoff game at home, it would have to be Minnesota, Vancouver, or Real Salt Lake in 5th, 6th, or 7th getting through on the western side for us to host. So not likely.
So let me see if I can pull up, Dave,
All right, an ATL on fire first. We discussed decision day. We might have even made some predictions, Mikey Dobbs.
Yeah, we were talking about the the Philadelphia NYFC game, and you were asking me who you thought would win that game. So let's just do a quick rewind to last Wednesday.
Let's end by previewing going forward. We got Cincinnati on decision day. So, okay. So first of all, what's your prediction for us against Cincinnati, the worst team in the league on the road? Can we get it done?
The only thing that I can picture is more of the same. Like I am so I've gone into so many of these games, the last 5 games, being optimistic. Like there was one game that I thought I think it was the NYFC game. I was like, we're going to torch them.
Yeah, just and then like Toronto too, for sure.
I was like, I had this feeling. I was like, we're going to torch them. And at some point, you just have to say,
well, we've been close to clicking. Like there have been moments where it's been free flowing, and it looks like we're going to score 3, 4, 5 goals.
You know what they call that? It's only close only matters with what horseshoes and hand grenades, right? So, yeah. So that was me talking about the upcoming Cincinnati game, which we just played last night,
right?
And then, I think, it was, for the most part, I do feel like that was correct. It was a little more of the same. We did correct. We'll get to this later on the podcast on how we corrected at halftime.
Yeah, well, if you play it a little bit further, you'll see my counterpoint.
Oh, okay. Let's keep playing it then. Sorry. We're gonna jump into your counterpoint here. All right. I feel like we're playing that game right now.
All right. So what's your prediction?
I think my prediction
failed to get it done.
I honestly think it's going to be a tie game. Yeah, I think it's going to be a draw.
Wow. A draw would be pretty
disappointing, right? Like I am expecting disappointment at this point.
I mean, Cincinnati's in last place. They have absolutely nothing to play for. They don't even have a full-time coach, I don't think. Yeah. So it's not even like they're playing for their coach's future.
So what I hope is that I am wrong, right? But if I am wrong, do you know what I would expect is that we trounce them, right?
Yeah.
So my gut says we're going to tie. What I want to happen is we should beat them 5-0. All right. Well, that didn't happen. We came
and then I say
very close to the prediction of a tie. Sorry, did I cut off your counterpoint?
Yeah, I say I think you're gonna get it done right in the end. Play it.
All right, let's play.
Come on, let's go over the whole thing.
It's not true. It's not true. Okay.
Here we go. Come on.
Here we go.
Yeah, and I don't think that Pineda and the confidence of the team and the tactics are good enough where we can roll over them. I do think even despite all of that, we win, maybe 2-1 or something.
There you go, Dave.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Validation. All right. So now do you want to be right twice? Because we had another clip.
We don't need to be. I think that's enough. Right. The take home, just if you want to go back and listen, was that Mikey Dawes says Philadelphia is going to do it, and I said I think I see a draw.
Yeah, well, you were right, and not only did they pull off a draw, they did it a man down, right?
Yeah, remarkable. They lose a man in the first 10,
NYFC
10,
got the draw with a man down.
Yeah. And it goes to say what I said previously, which is they had everything to play for, and they were gonna find a way. Even a man down, they were attacking, and did eventually. Get it done.
So, do you want to break down the first half for me? On the sheet here, I think we were at 5 in the back formation. Is that right?
Yeah. So you want to tell us the formation?
Sure. So we had roughly a 5-2-3 to start the Cincinnati game with Guzan in goal, Hernandez, Miles, Franco, Walks, and Bello across the back. I'd say we had Joseto and Ibarra in the middle, and Araujo, Martinez, and Barco up forward.
Right. So, in love with the 3 at the back. The one thing I will say is we've been calling for Ronald Hernandez to get a chance. What did you think of him?
Again, I don't know why he's not in there more often. It's particularly when we get to it with 4 in the back and Walks off the field. That's my preferred starting lineup.
Ronald Hernandez was better defensively and offensively than Lennon. In my opinion, Lennon may never start again.
I have no hate towards Lennon, but I 100% agree that Hernandez is the better choice.
Yeah.
Wait.
I don't understand why he wouldn't even have gotten any chance before now. But
and to be honest, if you're going to do more of like the wing back, Jurgen Damm, who you're paying $1.5 million, I think when you saw him came on, he did exactly what we've been talking about. He gets to the end line and puts good crosses in.
Correct.
That's ultimately how we got the goal from Joseph Martinez too. We'll get there. I'm ahead of myself. So then, we did not have any subs in the first half. We certainly were under pressure the beginning part of that game.
Big time.
There were some real shots on goal that could have gone in. Guzan was making some nice saves.
Mm-hmm.
There were the chances we had were kind of sporadic and not too organized in the first half.
Our expected goals in the first half was like something like
terrible.
0.24 or
Right.
something.
Like
it was
Barco had a
really
nice free kick again on goal, but easily
it didn't really trouble the goalkeeper too much.
It didn't trouble him, but not a great first half.
Yeah, and we've been talking about okay, you can argue that all right, you played 5 in the back on the road, right? And you could argue, okay, well the point is not really to have so many goal scoring chances, but is to be really tight in the back. And yet, they were just passing left and right across the box. The amount of possession that they had just outside our penalty area where no one was able to close it down and gain possession was pitiful. And that's how the goal came. It was one side to the other side. They had possession for quite a while. And then on top of it, as we've talked about time and time and again, when you play 3 in the back, there's no one really responsible for it. And it was simply a matter of player dribbling across the front of the box, the top of the box, and nobody figuring out, is it me? Is it you? Is it you? Is it me? Who's going to step? And by the time they stepped, it's in the back of the net.
Right. Everybody was kind of, in a good position, but they were not in a position to be confident on stepping and just absolutely closing space.
All 3 center backs and Josetu and Ibarra were all there.
Yeah, they're all there.
And yet nobody could get a block on the shot. That's the problem. And so you say, okay, your body's back. You can't get past them. Sure, maybe. But there's confusion. And confusion leads to goals. I mean, we could have given up 2 or even 3. There were a couple times even in that half, particularly on crosses, where, again, you got 3 center backs all back. They're all going after the ball. All it takes is somebody to head it out, right? And yet, 3 guys went after the ball. They head it, and if they don't get a good clearance, it goes right to one of their players. And sure enough, that's almost how we gave up goal number 2, right? Barco comes back. He's the back of 3. All 3 go for the ball. He heads it out weakly. It falls right to the Cincinnati player at the top of the box. And, he missed by inches.
Yeah.
I mean, he had the goal sitting.
In the first 20 minutes, there were 3 very strong opportunities that Cincinnati had. One went just wide of the far post on a very similar play that they ended up scoring on.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. That came from a cross that Barco, Walks, and Franco all went for. They were playing 3v1, so they gave them no chance to get to the ball. You're like, good, great, that's what we're supposed to do. But because 3 guys went for the ball against 1, when Barco headed it out weakly, the guy who we were supposed to be covering, wide open.
Yeah.
It fell right to him, and we were lucky as heck.
And I was kind of surprised with the way, Cincinnati did play with a little bit of spirit in that game, at least in the first half.
Well, they had nothing to lose, so they came out and go after it. There was another play I wanted to talk about, which was a total nothing play, but we had a goal kick, and actually Guzan played it right first, I think, to Franco, and then Franco played it back across to Walks, right, who didn't really have much, so he plays it back to Guzan. Okay, so Guzan ends up on the ball, right? And Walks, instead of going and giving Guzan an angle, he just stood there and watched him. Okay, so that meant that the attacker knew that Guzan had no option going to one side. He had to go right. So Guzan turned right. It was almost closed down, and we almost gave up the ball.
Yeah.
Right? Because Walks just had no concept of, okay, I got to provide an angle. Even if he doesn't play me, I've got to make it realistic where he has a chance so that the attacker knows, I can't overplay on that one side. I mean, you, Mikey Dobbs, have done that. I've seen you do that a million times. You know which side he has to go, and you're like going to cut it off.
Yeah. Yes. And, the other person, and I think this happened in the second half, but Bello kind of ball watching in the box too is an issue for him. He repeatedly did not keep his feet moving and make a decision on where he needed to be. Like Bello's got still a lot of room.
Oh, I have a note about that. 75th minute.
Yes, that was around. That's when I observed it.
Bello works so far back to make a key block. Right, he made an absolutely fantastic block. Okay, the ball pops straight up in the air, right, and he just stands there and switches off. Yeah, right, like I did my job, I blocked it. Now it's someone else's, and they almost played it right back to his guy, and he scored because he did nothing. The ball hadn't been cleared; it just went straight up.
Because I remember it was straight up, and I just remember watching him. And
he just stood there.
I didn't understand it.
And I think that's instinct, right? Maybe you'll get it with age, but it's almost something you can't teach. The instinct is that the danger is still there.
Yeah.
And for some reason, he's so naturally talented, and he did such an amazing job to get back and make that block. I think he's so used to being like, did my job, and that's enough. And then, most of the time that is enough because of where he's been playing at lower levels. You do that and you go up the field, right? But sometimes it's not enough in the MLS because the guy still got a really good, swing at it, and instead of being cleared, it went straight up.
Yeah. So anything else in the first half that sticks out to you?
No, I mean just
so we're losing 1-0.
Yeah.
at halftime. Not a lot to be encouraged by at halftime, but yet again, Gonzalo Pineda makes the switch every time we've been down at halftime in this situation. He goes 4-3-3,
right,
and goes with 4 in the back. So he subs out, I believe. He subs out Walk and puts in Mulroney at half.
How correct? Many times, the great coaches, whoever you think that is, like, who's your favorite coach? Klopp, Guardiola, whatever.
Yeah.
How often did they completely change the formation at halftime?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. And you might say, well, because they're never down, they're leading or whatever. But even if they go down, they still have an identity. They still know that that's a formation that they can get stuff out of.
Yeah.
We have this thing like, that formation is really not anything we can get out of. We'll change it. And the team is so good that when you change it, we suddenly do get something out of it. Right. The other time that it happened almost exactly the same way was on the road in USA qualifying with Berhalter, where he changed it at halftime, and he went from 5 in the back to 4 in the back, and suddenly, boom, that was the game that we came back from 1-0, Honduras.
It's Honduras, I think.
Yeah, and then we just 4-1 steamrolled them in the second.
And I
half.
Sent you the clip of Berhalter's kind of pep talk at halftime, talking about switching to the 4 in the back.
Yeah.
But it's about the right formation given the talent you have sometimes. Which again, I've never been a big formation person, but the more we've talked about it with Atlanta United and just the way that we say we want to play attacking style football. Well, Tata played the 4 in the back the majority of the time, and I think that is why we had, more commitment from the what I would hope to be like Hernandez and Bello making bombing runs, with also the equal commitment is they got to get their ass back too and be fullbacks.
I think there are 3 things I have to say about it, right? So one is no professional team that I know of is content to play one player on an island, basically conceding. You're conceding the midfield, right? And you don't necessarily have to win the midfield. You can win games by counterattacking, sitting back, whatever, concede the midfield a little bit. But you can't be totally blown away in midfield game after game after game. And there is not a player in the world, I don't care who it is, who can play by themselves on an island as center midfield against most teams that are playing 3 in the midfield and win the battle. It's just impossible. So that's one point. Point number 2 is, you have to know the strengths of your team. The teams that I've ever seen that played 5 in the back, it's a stopgap when you really don't have any talent enough to be able to stop people. When you have center backs who can't win one-on-one and they always are requiring 2v1, then you have to do it. There is no doubt that Miles Robinson and Franco can win one-on-one battles. Campbell can win one-on-one battles. Walks can even win one-on-one battles, right? So there is nothing about our center backs that says we need 5 at the back. So that's point number 2. And point number 3 is that what you saw in the second half is that once you actually get to 4 and you move another player into the middle, so many times the ball turned over much further up the field, and suddenly it's so much easier for us to get chances because Araujo, Barco, etc. only have to get by one guy and to create something.
Yeah. So we start off with what you and I have been begging for the entire season, which is Hernandez is the back right. We've got Miles on the right center, Franco on the left center, and Bello left fullback.
That's the back 4 we've been talking about.
That's the back 4 we've been
talking about. And I have a note that says, hallelujah.
Yeah. Now, in the perfect scenario, the middle would be slightly different. We would have Josetu, he was in there. Ibarra is in there. Obviously, we would want Sosa.
Yep.
And Mulroney, which I would prefer to see like a Jürgen Damm in some way or another in that mix, and Lennon still on the bench. Then we had Barco as kind of like he was in the top 3, but kind of sitting back a little bit behind Araujo and Martinez. Mm-hmm. And again, that's beautiful. Like that's the only other. Obviously we want Moreno in there. Sorry.
Right. So I was going to say the 2 guys who picked themselves over Ibarra and Mulroney are Moreno and Sosa.
Yeah. And then the question is, and I'm even okay with Mulroney from time to time being in there, but Jürgen Damm, Mulroney to bring the speed on. Well,
Mulroney and Jürgen Damm are ideal substitutes. They're pacey. They run at players on the wing. They can bring something extra to the game. We don't really have someone who we can bring in up top who can really change the game, but we can bring somebody up out on the wing, and that can allow you in a pinch, you bring in one of those guys and you push Barco or Araujo up next to Martinez, and it becomes almost a 2.
But ideally in the middle there we got Josetu, Moreno, and and Sosa, right?
Sosa. Yeah. And I should say that it's a perfect moment to suggest that thank goodness Pineda says that Sosa is available 100% healthy for the playoffs. He could have played in a pinch at Cincinnati. I don't mind him not playing that, knowing that he's got like 13 days before the playoffs. Let's get him really, really healthy and fit, and he's going to be 100% raring to go.
And hopefully, I don't know how serious the foot injury is with Moreno, but I watched him play in the previous game. I think it's a matter of just again resting him in the last game to make.
Yeah, he's expected to be 100% ready to go as well.
Awesome.
So we will, for the first time in a while, have everybody, and we haven't really had the chance to analyze Pineda's choice because so many times he hasn't really had to make the choice. He hasn't had all 4 of BAM available. And so, but we can either talk about what happened let's talk about what happened in the second half first before we say what we would go with next.
Now, you said you were also reading an article in Dirty South where they were agreeing with this might be the moment Pineda realizes the 4 in the back is the way to go. Is that right?
Right.
I missed that article, but I have to read it.
Yeah, so, obviously expected goal-wise suddenly in the second half. We went from, I think, 2 or 3 shots in the first half, and we had like 12 or 14 in the second half. We went from 0.2 goals expected in the first half to something like 2.3 or something in the second half. Yeah. I mean, it was just night and day.
Pressure right out of the gates.
Right. And now you can actually, for the first time, you saw Barco and Araujo winning the ball coming back because they track back brilliantly, those guys. Yeah. They are not one-dimensional waiting to go forward kind of players. And we've missed them, being a nuisance because we don't have anybody in the middle. So they have no time to come back and be a second or double team or be a nuisance because, they're just passing right around our one guy in the middle and off they go.
Yeah. So, we had, like, in the 53rd minute, I don't know who it was, whips a kind of low kind of cross into the box with Joseph Martinez, cracks it, and it's it was going, I think, more towards the near post, and the keeper got his foot out to it and stopped it. Brilliant save. And
I think it was Ronald Hernandez.
Solid contact. Yeah, I think it was Hernandez. I think you're right.
Yeah, and Joseph really should have done better.
Then, like in the,
It wasn't a bad hit. No, maybe he shouldn't have been better. It was a good save.
in the
Made him
54th,
work.
somebody hit like a really deep over the top ball to Jake Mulroney.
Mm-hmm.
Who, I thought Jake actually did a really nice job of bringing it down on his chest and actually made a decent effort. And it could have been a brilliant goal, but just didn't happen. But again, good ball, good attempt. I'm not going to give too much crap to.
Good running by Mulroney on that one.
And it was actually his first touch on the chest was great, if I recall, and just wasn't able to finish it. And then it was kind of mayhem, and right after that, where if I recall, like there was just some balls that ended up at Barco's foot, and he should have put it on frame. They ended up going into defenders, and kind of two missed opportunities. And then right after that, like he dribbles like he does a lot and ends up like running into somebody, which everybody complains about. This is a classic Barco moment, though, like where it's hard to feel sorry for him.
Yep.
Like goes down the box a little too easy and is just trying to oversell the fact that he's really got fouled, because he gets fouled a ton all the time. But here in this situation, he really didn't get fouled that bad. I guarantee he could have got up and
he got bumped, and it was way after he passed the ball away. So you're never going to get a penalty kick on that.
Like,
never.
And then not only,
I mean, even if the guy had come and just slashed him horrible 2-footed challenge or whatever, he could have gotten sent off for a red card, but he never would have gotten a penalty kick because he wasn't on the ball.
And so this is a part of his maturity that you worry about, right? And it's like, all right, so then, I mean, literally like 60 seconds had gone by, and we had repossessed the ball all the way back on our side of the field.
Right.
Came in and actually had a really strong attacking chance, and he's laying on the ground.
And he had to stay down because he was embarrassed, right?
No, he didn't. He could have.
No, I mean, but that's why he stayed down. He should have gotten right back up, but he was embarrassed. That's why he stayed down, because he knew that he had to make it seem like he was really hurt.
Exactly.
Otherwise, people would have been like, it was super soft.
But no, everybody knew he was faking it.
Well, we did, yes.
Because he was embarrassed, which is even more embarrassing.
I agree.
So that's the entire point.
It was an embarrassment.
It was an embarrassment. So hope you're listening, Barco.
He should have been embarrassed because we knew that he was doing it, and we were embarrassed, so it was an embarrassment. If you follow that.
So yeah, the pressure continues. I think there's a little bit of a lull, but finally we get our goal in the 70th minute.
Well, before we get to that, I have a couple. So one was Ronald Hernandez made an absolutely stunning run down the right side, and he beat probably two guys. He gets all the way to the end line, right? And he crosses a beautiful cross a little bit back. It rolls right across the 6-yard box, right? And Joseph Martinez, ostensibly went back post, right, waiting for the ball at the back post. He never made any attempt to dart in front and get in front of that. That is not Joseph Martinez of old, right? That's Joseph Martinez not yet back from ACL fully.
Yeah, well, Lee and I we were talking about that on a walk this morning with the dog, that you just don't see Martinez making those bombing runs. Like he even just to advance himself into the 18, even to have a chance. Not and to your point, once you're even there, not making that aggressive, well-timed, all right, this is my moment to, 25% of the time it's going to be there, but that's when the Viper gets in there and gets his goal. He's not doing that. He's finding goals another way. He had 12 goals in the regular season this year, I think, which is 2 or 3 more than I thought he was going to get. I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, we'd have to go back to that podcast on our predictions. Yeah, right? No, I think it was lower than that.
Yeah, no, I was.
You can tweet at us if you remember our predictions podcast.
It was more of a poll than it was a prediction.
No, but we talked about it and tried to make a prediction, I think, on one of the podcasts.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going to get more than 10. So that was my prediction, is that it was going to be lower than 10.
Yeah.
Which I had put on a tweet. The majority of people thought he was going to get more. So the fans all thought he would get more than 10.
I would have said they were crazy, that coming back from ACL was too hard. I think he did better than expected. He looked like early on he was a shadow of himself, and then suddenly he popped back into being himself. And I feel like he got there a little bit too quick, and then stressed his knee a little bit and regressed a little bit.
Right. I can't agree more. Yeah, I think there's definitely a little bit of head.
I was surprised he got there so quickly.
I was too, because there was those 2 games that was like, oh, Joseph's back.
Yeah.
He was making runs, he was playing aggressive, and then he had the boo-boo again on the knee, and you're like, oh crap.
But it's a bad sign when you see him not even make an attempt to run across.
Right.
So, the other thing I want to say before you get to the goal, there was an absolutely stunningly fabulous chipped through ball from Barco, who laid it onto a platter for Mulroney. He has a chance to shoot, but it's on his right foot, and he doesn't even shoot. He tries to cut it back. He could have just shot. He was like maybe a little outside the 6-yard box. I mean, are you kidding me?
The commentators were talking about that.
How can you be a professional player?
Was it Mulroney or Bello, though?
No, it was Mulroney.
Okay.
It was Barco chipped it to Mulroney, and unfortunately, it didn't fall on his left foot. It fell to his right foot. But how can you be a professional player at maybe the penalty spot as far out? That's it, and not even attempt to shoot with a wide open shot?
Yeah. Because
you're so afraid of not being able to hit it with your weak foot. I mean, I'm a big believer in 2-footed players. I think we have gone to this point where we think, okay, it's okay for people to express themselves and be more of a one-sided player. I'm like, you can be a dominant player, but the number of times I now see professional players who miss opportunities to take advantage of a situation because they don't even have a competent weak foot is just astonishing to me.
I mean, I remember I didn't develop a left foot at all until probably halfway through my college season. And that was,
I was born with a left foot, Mikey Dobbs.
You were? I was born with a right foot.
I was born with 2 feet. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I'm a dominant right-sided player, but I happen to have been born with a left foot also.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't even become a decent player until I was able to learn how to cross the ball with my left foot and be able to put a solid shot through my laces with my weak foot too. Yeah. Once you have that, then it's weird that sometimes you almost like prefer it and that's when you've kind of had the breakthrough, like when you're like, okay, I feel really good about hitting it with my weak foot. Because sometimes even though you're not as competent with that foot, you just go to basics and you do the simple.
You get too cute with your strong foot.
Yeah, you get too cute with your strong foot, and with your weak foot, you just again back to the basics, right through the ball.
Yep.
Okay.
But I don't understand it because I could play, I could play 30, 40-yard ball, anywhere I wanted to with both feet. And I was like, and there's opportunities, the ball falls to one side and the guy's making a through ball. And if you can't make it, you have to cut it back. You have to be a 2-footed player. It's pathetic.
Yeah.
The number of times where the guys won't even attempt it, you're like,
kids, if you're listening and you're 1-footed, the next year, all you should do is play with the other foot.
Right.
Seriously. Best advice ever. 70th minute, Miles gets his header. Score against Cincinnati.
Robinson on the head again.
Was that a corner?
Is this a U.S. national team game or an Atlanta United game?
Was that a corner? I forget.
Corner.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know how many goals he scored this year?
I think that's his only one.
First goal.
Yeah. Because the commentators said like his first MLS goal, and I was scratching my head. I was like, of course not. It's not his first MLS goal. I think the context was first MLS goal this season, which was correct.
Right. Okay, now interlude time. Now that the wine has opened up a bit, and you've drank it for a little more, and you've maybe stopped thinking about it completely. Now, what do you think?
It has. Honestly, I already thought.
I'm fishing here, folks.
I already thought about it. 100% has opened up. 100% has solidified itself in a good wine. So
awesome.
You might be on the top spectrum of good, which I gave you no chance of being there.
Don't worry about it. I gave us no chance also. So there you go. Okay, so Miles Robinson, great goal, right? Opportune moment. He's got a knack for that, right?
Yeah.
He's very good in the air. attacking, of a list of all the attributes that are going to sell him in Europe, right? The guy can score a key goal too. I mean, if you can defend one-on-one, you can read the game, you can play in the air, you can play on the ground, you're dominant one-on-one defender, and you can chip in a few goals now and then.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
hasta la vista.
What do they call that in baseball?
Hasta luego.
A five-tool player.
Five-tool player, yeah.
I don't know if he had 5, but we'll call it that. So then what happens? What happens next? We get another goal, right? In the 78th minute, only 8 minutes later.
I'm wearing a shirt, Mikey Dobbs. I don't know if you can see.
I'll tell the listeners. It says number 7, Martinez, on the back.
Have you heard of him?
Well, I was texting you today that I don't think I've recall a goal quite as similar. And when I texted you that, it's funny. The goal that I was thinking of that was most similar was the YouTube clip that you sent back, which was
Marco van Basten.
Yeah, it was Van Basten, not Cruyff.
Yeah.
Where somebody puts a real lobby cross to the back post, and he almost has his back to the ball as it's coming to him, and he just curls his foot around it at a really sharp angle and puts it right in the side netting in the far post.
That was in the 88 European Championships when Holland won it all. The European Championships. Their one and only title of all time.
Yeah. And
he was one of the purest finishers there ever was, Marco van Basten. And so for a player like Martinez to be, put in the same equation is amazing. I would say there was a goal just a couple of weeks ago. Cristiano Ronaldo did a similar thing where it wasn't the same kind of cross.
You brought up you already beat me. I was going to say the other example, which just happened recently, but that was more of like it was over the defender's head, right?
Yeah.
And Ronaldo just hits his laces right through the ball low into the far post.
Yeah.
Beautiful finish, just well timed.
The things that all three of those have in common is the extraordinary amount of concentration that it takes.
Yeah. The unique thing, which is why I was texting with the Joseph Martinez one, is why I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a goal like that. Was if you watch it, it's I think Jürgen Damm plays a cross in. It gets headed straight up in the air, almost 40 feet.
By the defender.
The defender. Joseph Martinez has his chest facing the sidelines. So he is literally not facing the goal at all. And that is why there's two parts of the goal that make it unique for me, is the ball was coming straight up and down from such a height, and his back was literally turned to goal up until the very last second, which make it a little more unique than the Ronaldo and even the Van Basten example. Van Basten had to wrap his foot around it, but Martinez did all of that from a ball coming basically straight down to him with his back to goal.
Yeah, stunning.
And somehow knew right where the far post was. I mean, it was special. I mean,
goal from the gods.
Yeah, he was just that's a guy who knows, you need the goal in the 78th minute, and he got it done. So good on him.
Yeah, that puts him in the upper pantheon of goal scorers to score goals like that. You just don't see it.
Yeah. So that's what I meant by I don't think I've seen one quite like that. Is there another example like that you've seen? I mean, I really felt like it came from such a height, and his back was to goal. It was brazen, the whole thing.
Okay, so the only other comment I'll say about that game is when the Cincinnati made a sub pretty late and the guy was a little bit injured or whatever, the ref let the guy stop and talk 3 times to his teammates, and he was delaying so that they could get the guy warmed up to get on the sub, and the ref did nothing about it. I mean, I was like, how could you not card him? And the referee is running around that whole game so MLS-like, that was 1, 2, 3 fouls. This drives me nuts, right? They're counting the fouls. It's one thing to say...
Rant.
It's one thing to say that okay, one player, I've had enough of you. You've gotten away with it. I could have given you a yellow card for this or that or whatever, and it's, cumulative. That's what they're indicating. There is no such thing as a cumulative ticky-tacky foul. If you pick up your sixth, unintentional ticky-tacky foul, like not that you're like intentionally trying to slow down plays or whatever, but you're going for balls or whatever, there's no bad harm or whatever, you just keep calling a foul. There's no such thing as a cumulative number, unless it's you're on the edge and you've given the guy a break.
I love the fact that you brought this topic up because that ref was so annoying.
Yeah, what the?
Like from his little counts for both sides is like 1, 2, 3, and then he would like run over dramatically to like go clarify something like.
Yeah, he ran over to the corner flag at one point to make sure the ball.
We're all adults here. We're okay. We got it.
And when he counted off 1, 2, 3, he was counting off number of Atlanta United fouls, like as if that foul and this foul from two different players. He gave it to Ronald Hernandez. It was his first foul of the game. Right? I'm like, what are you doing? Yeah. You have no idea. Did you ever? And they were saying that, the referee is so amazing because, he made his MLS debut at 26 or something. I'm like, all it means is that he never played the game.
Yeah, that guy was a joker.
I mean, come on.
And so I already gave Barco a hard time for his antics, which he's got to solve because he is, again, somebody who I think is so talented that is going to play at a higher level after Atlanta United. Neither here nor there. Anyway, Araujo also kind of needs a little growing up too. He fouls people in the game, and it's a foul.
Yep.
And then he acts for some reason like he was wrong.
He's like, come on.
Like, what is that face? You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, sure.
Like, what is that? Like,
yeah.
Like you ran over to him and you got there late and you push him in the back, and then you act like you're constipated.
I think he says that because he doesn't, Araujo, you don't see him with bad tackles. When he gets those calls, it's sort of like pushing and stuff.
Right, they're like bonehead things.
And he's like, come on, that if I'm gonna get a real foul, there better be blood. I think he's used to a different kind of
There's a little bit of arrogance.
Sure. Yep. I'm Araujo.
I'm Araujo from
My wife is Miss Brazil.
Exactly. So that rubs me the wrong way.
Fair.
And that's all I got to say about that game.
All right. So now Atlanta goes on the road to face New York City FC, playing in Yankee Stadium, by the way. And so what's your prediction?
What's the game again? Sorry.
It's Atlanta United in the playoffs against New York City FC on the road at Yankee Stadium.
I mean, we have to win it. We have better players. It sounds like we've got Sosa and Moreno back. If again we play the formation we talked about, I'd say there's no way we don't get a win. The other thing is that little miniature pitch also gives our team an advantage from the ticky-tack soccer that our team is capable of playing in tight spaces.
Okay,
which I think fits a lot of the skill set that we have with our group of stars. I mean, they're totally comfortable playing little tiny passes to get around people, and all day long we got Miles, Franco, standing people up. As long as the back line stands up well, I think we're good.
I was going to say the opposite. I felt like we really need free flowing, soccer to make it happen. But let's take a half step back. So what does Pineda do? So the Dirty South article said that Pineda may have finally found the secret formula, which is clearly the 4 in the back, right? 2 in the midfield, and then the BAM up top, right? Do you think, so assuming Sosa, Moreno, all available, do you think he plays 5 in the back or 4 in the back?
If I was in Vegas, I'm going 5 in the back. I mean, there's, there's no way I would bet against everything he's been doing. For whatever reason, he does not want to shift from that.
That's what I was going to say. There is no chance, and I'd love to be proven wrong. There is no chance he goes into New York City FC on the road and plays 4 in the back. No.
All of a sudden in the playoffs, he's going to change the formula that in his head thinks it got them to this point.
Now,
but
if
it really
we go
didn't.
down 2-0 at halftime, he may have to do it.
So frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope that we're wrong on either account. Either we play 5 in the back.
Because if you're, I mean, look, Pineda might be thinking strictly about the win, and maybe he should be. But at the end of the day, the other thing you got to be thinking about is as a team, right? So if you're Pineda and you're the coach, and you saw what happened in Cincinnati, and you've seen the number of times you switched to 4 in the back, and it's been so dramatic, right? You got to know that if you go up there and you play 4 in the back and it doesn't work, right? If at least it's free flowing and you go after him, then the fans are going to give you, the benefit of the doubt, right? Because they're going to say, look, he went after it at least, right? Whereas if you go up there and you maybe play 5 at the back and it's tight and cagey, and then you go and lose 1-0, they score a cheap one somehow, nobody steps up again out of the back 3. They definitely going to score one, and you lose 1-0 on the road there, and you say, oh, it was tight, we played well,
Yeah, and I mean, again, that really is a narrow field. I mean, it's a very narrow field. And so with 4 in the back and a really talented midfield, which we have with Sosa, Josetu, Moreno, there is so much that we can do by moving it quickly and with really well-timed passes that I just feel like we've got all the talent there.
I mean, can you make an argument that you prefer to go up there and lose 3-2 going after them than you do going up there and somehow managing to win? Let's say you get 1-1 and tie, you force penalty kicks and win in penalty kicks.
I'd so much rather us play attacking with just, shots flying everywhere. And then, even I'd rather have like a 4-3 loss in that game.
So you're going to revisit your prediction then? I think. What was your prediction?
What was my prediction? I thought we were going to win.
Yeah, you said we were going to win, and then you said that we're going to play 5 in the back, and you said how catastrophic it's going to be.
I didn't say
that's not consistent with us winning, is it?
I did not say it was catastrophic. No. I think we will play 5 in the back
and win.
Like we continually have winning games with 5 in the back. If
not on the road,
not on the road, but
I mean, look at the number of times that we, the few times under Pineda that we've come short. Right, they've all been on the road. They haven't even been in a playoff atmosphere. But where we've, we lost at Montreal. We lost the couple of games that we really just didn't play well and lost with 5 in the back.
I'll have to take a look. I don't know if we've ever lost with 5 in the back with Bam and Sosa.
Well, we haven't had that ever really. Maybe once.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know that we've ever lost with it. If we had it once, and that's where again I think the talent will overcome the formation.
That's awfully optimistic of you, Mikey.
It is optimistic, but I think we have so much talent.
I think we play 5.
They will get it done despite the formation.
I think we play 5 in the back. It's frustrating, and we don't get it done.
Well, your predictions have been obviously more accurate given the beginning.
The last one.
Just to rub it in, go ahead.
Well,
were you going to bring that up? That your 2 predictions at the beginning of this with the Cincinnati?
Yeah, but
sure.
I mean the sample size is small.
Yeah.
But I could see us losing even if we played 4 in the back. But I think if we played 4 in the back, we give ourselves a legit chance to come out and beat them, right? Maybe it's even less than half the time, but we are playing on the road. It is in their bandbox that they're used to playing really well in. That's a tough ask. But we have a chance for the talent to shine through. We play 5 in the back. I don't really think the talent is going to shine through, and they're going to be frustrated and clogged the whole game. And I think we lose. I think we give up a goal relatively early. It could be in the first half. It could be a little bit into the second half. Then we chase the game, and maybe they lay on a second, something like that. But I just don't think we can win at New York City FC playing 5 in the back. I don't think we can do it. As frustrating as that is, so we're going to reverse predictions.
All right.
You said we were not going to get it done at Cincinnati. I said we'd find a way.
Too much talent to lose that game.
Oh, definitely too much talent. Should win the game. Now that being said, New York City FC is a pretty talented team. They're not a crap team by any means.
No, but I just don't think they have the same. And again, this is also a prediction that game. I think we either lose big or win big.
No, I think it's tight. We lose 1-0 or 2-0.
Okay.
And maybe even if it's 2-0, it's late in the game when we're pushing for the equalizer. But keep in mind, Mikey Dobbs, that New York City FC has a goal differential of plus 20. Our goal differential is plus 8.
Plus 8.
Right? So they're 12 goals better than us.
Do you remember the first half of the season, though?
I know. But, you consider under Heinz, it was the first third of the season. It was 11 games. So you figure, but over a third of that, that means a third of the difference was due to that. So they're plus 12 on us. A third of that means that there's 4 goals that were in that period of time. So, maybe they should only be plus 8 on us, but it still means they're a good team.
So predictions are in. Dave thinks our playoff run is over after New York FC.
Well, I will say that if for some ungodly reason we play 4 in the back, which I would love to see, I would immediately at the start of that game revise my prediction, and I'd give us a real chance to upset them.
Okay. So here's hoping 4 in the back. The fire is on now.
It's a real fire, ladies and gentlemen.
It's a real fire.
It's finally cold enough in the ATL.
Yes.
Those of you podcasters who are listening from outside the ATL should know that it's finally sort of cold enough. We might have the door wide open to make it a little colder, but...
Now, if we don't end up winning, there is still a lot of hope on the horizon because...
Hope springs eternal.
That's right. We pretty much have locked down one of South America's biggest prospects, Thiago Almada, for a January introduction to Atlanta United. He's a Velez player. He's 20 years old. He just got called up for his first Argentinian senior
full
appearance.
Team, ladies and gentlemen. So the guy's 20 years old, and he gets called up to the full side, not for a friendly, for a World Cup qualifier.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean he's going to play, but that if you get called up to the full Argentinian team for a World Cup qualifier at 20, I mean, seriously? And it turns out that apparently he signed for Atlanta United over Man United.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Man United was looking at him, a year ago. I mean, a bunch of Spanish teams.
But apparently they really wanted to make an offer, and they said that they would.
Yeah.
Maybe not the offer he wanted, apparently, but...
Yeah, I mean, this kid is legitimate. I mean, he's got a lot of high expectations. He's only 20, obviously. But it's a pretty big snafu that, testament to the front office. We talked about how did this season get turned around in 2021. The front office continues with, this obviously the ink has to dry and we have to see it come 2022. But holy cow, you should be excited if you're an Atlanta United fan, no matter what, for 2022 with, a guy that came from Lille who left a Champions League team and Argentina or South America, one of the handful of top prospects, like legitimately.
Well, the amazing thing about Araujo is he comes here at 26. That means it's not a stepping stone. That doesn't mean he won't go back to Europe, but doesn't suggest it's really a stepping stone. It suggests he might be coming here for good.
Yeah.
That's what's stunning. Obviously, Thiago Almada is coming here as a stepping stone.
Not only a stepping stone, I mean, I think Almada doesn't want to be Atlanta United. Does not want to be at Atlanta United. I mean, there's no mincing it, and really, many people think he should have already been in Europe a year or two ago. That's how good this guy is.
Yeah, but and that's not necessarily. Sometimes in certain sports, if you have a guy who just wants to show their talents, it can be disruptive to the team. But here, I think it's an advantage. You got a guy who's hungry to show that he can score goals and create goals. and that just works in your favor.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a little worried. This formula hasn't worked when it's been on center stage of the media. It worked with Almiron, right?
Yeah.
But no one knew who the hell Almiron was when 2017 started.
Yep.
So he was kind of under the radar, if you will. This guy is on center stage. As far as I'm concerned, in the MLS, he will be by far the best prospect MLS has ever
had. He's supposed to be clearly a much stronger prospect even than Barco, who was at the time one of the great prospects.
Who, by the way, I think, and again, I will stand by this as much shit as I gave Barco earlier on. I think we're going to see Barco and Almada playing on the senior roster for the next 8 years with the Argentinian national team.
Well, certainly
not in this coming World Cup. Maybe Almada.
Yeah,
but Barco, I think we'll see in the U.S. and Canada and Mexico for the 2026 World Cup playing.
I'd enjoy that.
For Argentina.
Yeah. So how in the world, Mikey Dobbs, can we afford him? Is it Tam and Gam?
Well, I mean,
is it designated player? Who are our designated players? Can you tell us? How is it possible?
So our three designated players are Joseph Martinez, Araujo, and Barco.
Now, I heard that there's only 2 designated players.
Who'd you hear this from?
I read an article.
That there's only 2 that are designated players for Atlanta United based on the books?
Yeah, currently.
Oh.
That one of them has been bought off, which I presume had to be Joseph Martinez.
So that sounds possible, and this is the thing with it, right? So you buy players down with this mystical monopoly money called TAM and GAM, which we've talked about on it, and so that basically has to bring their annual kind of combined salaries and fees below 1.6 million, I think, is kind of roughly in that magic mark of how the spreadsheet says what Joseph Martinez is costing the team. And so
that's per player?
It's
got to be per player.
I think it's per player. Yes, per player. Yeah.
Okay. So you can have 3 players at 1.6 million each.
So if we had enough of this so-called monopoly money of TAM and GAM, maybe we bought down Joseph Martinez.
But how much do you think we're paying them? Do you know?
Joseph Martinez, we pay $3.8 million as a base salary a year.
Okay.
But he was we re-signed him to a 5-year contract. So that's amateurized, a fancy word for how you put it in the spreadsheet. So they may backload that, or they might, I don't know. The last guy that started messing with the spreadsheet got fired because of breaking the rules.
He got fired for doing it at another club, though.
Yeah, another
Even
club.
though he was here first.
So it's risky business is all I'm saying.
He just didn't get caught here, Mikey Dobbs.
So, of course.
That's how we roll at the ATL.
So we could buy down Joseph Martinez. I don't know if that's possible or not because nobody knows whether it sounds like you're saying we might have already done that.
That's what I heard.
Where did you hear this? I mean, do you have a source? I mean, this is pretty big news, Dave, for our listeners. Do you have an inside line? I mean, what's...
I felt like it was one of the AJC or Dirty. I can't remember.
No, I was reading Doug's article the other day, and the thing is nobody knows how much TAM and GAM we got.
Might have just made it up, but I don't think so.
I like you making this up. It's conspiracy from ATL on Fire. We have a slot open, people.
It doesn't matter because nobody can possibly verify any of this anyway. No way, no how.
So the question is, and I asked this on our Twitter account: are we going to go from BAM to BAM with 2 A's?
Whoa, I like it.
Or are we going to Mama? Which somebody else said we should go to Bomba or something like that.
Oh my goodness!
Is it better?
No.
No.
There's no chance. There is no chance, ladies and gentlemen. I mean,
there's no chance.
You're saying there's a chance.
You don't think there's any chance we keep Barco on the line? So
No.
I would think we either have to sell Barco,
yes,
or sell Moreno. Those are the two.
But Barco is the one who's going for sure.
Right. That's the one that you would think.
Barco's gone.
He wants to go to Europe. We've committed that we'll try to get him to Europe.
Yep.
He wants to be in Europe.
Yep.
The question is, he's also got his teammate though, that he's best friends with Almada. I think like good buddies with
very
him.
good buddies.
So if there's any way he could sit around for another year, we win another MLS Cup, same way Almiron left with that glory, and maybe both of them get sold and move on, and we up the ante once again.
There's no way.
So I don't think there's any way either. Personally, I think we have to move on from Barco. But we also have these, what's it called, the under 22 initiative, which
So in addition to our TAM and GAM miracle, we have a fountain of youth, if you will.
Fountain of youth, players that are under the age of 22, which in the initiative we have Sosa, Ibarra, and Eric Lopez, I believe, as our U22 initiative players. The max they can get paid is somewhere like, like $612,000 a year.
What a steal that is for Sosa.
Right, that's a steal for Sosa, right? So we can't bring Almada in a U22 initiative. He's gonna want at least $2 million a year in base salary minimum, right? Unless they mess with the spreadsheet, and this new contract that they've agreed to says the first year you only get paid $612,000. We're going to get rid of Eric Lopez. We're going to sell him or do something with him.
He's under 22.
We're going to move
with a guaranteed. We're going to move $8.5 bazillion on the backside.
Exactly.
Okay. I like it.
Cook the books, and now all of a sudden we've got bam. Just stay with me, Dave. There's hope.
I'm just obsessing about Sosa, right? You can make an argument that Sosa's the best player on our team. Who would you pick as the best player on our team, Mikey Dobbs?
Honestly, Miles Robinson right now.
Yeah, Robinson.
Dude, the guy is, anytime a guy is so, and plus the fact that Sosa's just been so injured, you have to give the nod to Miles right now.
And who's better, Barco or Araujo?
Barco.
Okay.
And yeah, because Barco's going to go to Europe and he's going to do big things. And all the haters out there,
Araujo's a class player.
Tune in on European Saturdays and Sundays. You're going to see
a good team. I mean, Joseph, Barco, Araujo, Moreno, Miles Robinson, Sosa are all legit.
I was on the fence with Barco until I've seen him just dribble around people this season like I've never seen before.
Like they're cones.
Like they're cones. He's literally dribbling around people like cones. And that's going to, the European side's going to have to.
So when you're setting up the cones at your daughter's practice, make sure they go both feet. I do. They will learn to dribble like Barco.
I do a drill with the under 6 kids. It's can you do this? I say, can you dribble with your left foot? And I demonstrate, and they all follow dribbling with their left foot. Can you dribble with your right foot? Can you put your tummy on the ball? Can you put your head on the ball? So there's all sorts of fun stuff. I've been watching some YouTube stuff. Yeah,
I like it.
Your advice really helped, which is never stay static with under 6 kids.
Right.
It's constant movement.
No lines.
No lines.
Oh
no
my
pausing.
goodness, they cannot handle lines. Just keep them on. Be ready to go from one thing to the next. Keep them moving, and they'll have a blast.
Yeah. Keep it moving.
Let the game teach itself.
And then the other thing I learned on a YouTube video is like you huddle them up and you basically get down on your knees at their level.
Yes,
and talk to them. That does wonders too. They actually focus and listen to you. So, yeah. Not that I'm a good coach. We're not good. We're not good. Love the kids.
My team was playing against LSA this past weekend, and they're one of the best teams. And they've been our nemesis, and they beat us by a goal each time. And we're playing in the State Cup. We're playing magnificently. We're up 3-0, Mikey Dobbs, with 12 minutes to go.
Oh no!
We conceded 3 goals and tied 3-3.
I could tell that was coming.
Oh my goodness!
But
sack the coach.
Back to the optimism of Thiago Almada, though. I mean, this guy is.
Yeah.
What's his position at Velez?
Attacking midfielder, like free Barco role.
He's like a free Barco, so he's so it's similar to the Moreno type of role.
Yeah, Pulisic.
I've seen some YouTube videos. It's exciting.
He's small of stature, though, not nearly as small as Barco. Right. He's 5'7".
Yeah, he's a little thicker.
Barco can't be more than like 5'4" or something. He's tiny.
He's tiny. He's really tiny.
Yeah. At least Almeida is like Messi size.
Yeah. And I mean, he's got that level of hype right now. That's a lot of.
He doesn't even have to be Messi in the MLS.
No,
I mean,
you just have to
honest.
be. You have to be 20 and Argentinian, and everything's good.
If you're Eden Hazard or you're Sancho or you're even Pulisic, you could dominate the MLS.
Dave, I don't have a whole lot more to talk about. We're an hour and 9 minutes into the podcast. Anything else you want to leave us with?
Is there a chant?
No, I don't think we want to share that. But unless you think it's the Mamba 5, but
we'll wait for that.
Yeah, we'll wait for that.
I'll keep you waiting.
If that happens in 2022, that could be a chant. If all 5 of them are there, we'll see.
I love it.
Well, this was a good one. I think we're happy we're in the playoffs. Dave and I are at odds on whether we're going to make it past the first gauntlet. Hopefully, folks, we will be back with optimism for a follow-up playoff game.
Heck yeah.
So, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Dave, amazing wine that has me actually kind of blown away.
Here's the vintage number 2.
Norton. Emerald Vineyards, right?
Emerald Hill Winery.
Emerald Hill Winery. All right, everybody. Have a good night.